what's good out there, world? Welcome to this edition of Baking with Trademark. And today, I'm going to make a homemade from scratch butter pound cake. And also with that, I'm going to make a homemade butter glaze to go on top of that pound cake. Now, as always, Trademark wishes everybody out there a groovy day. Now, let's get to these ingredients for this homemade from scratch butter pound cake. So here are the ingredients I'm going to be using for my homemade, made from scratch butter pound cake. So I have 3 cups of Swan's Dawn cake mix. I have 2 cups of white sugar. I'm going to be using a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. I have 4 eggs at room temperature. I have 2 sticks of butter at room temperature. I'm also going to be using 1/3 cup of sour cream, and the recipe also calls for buttermilk, but I don't have any, so I looked up a little recipe on how to make buttermilk, and I'm actually going to show you what I do, but I'm going to be using vinegar and whole milk. And to flavor the cake, I'm going to be using a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And this is new to me, this cake batter. I used this with my, coffee cake, and I really like the taste of it. So I'm going to be using 1/8 of teaspoon of this cake batter. Now that's optional. You do not have to use it. And for my butter glaze, I'm going to be using a stick of unsalted butter, 3/4 cup of sugar. I'm going to be using 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/4 cup of water. So once again, here are the ingredients that I'm going to be using for my homemade, made from scratch pound cake. And there in the back, I'm going to be using my stand mixer to mix everything. I have my bundt pan, and I have my Baker's Joy non-stick spray to spray in the pan. And I'm kind of excited because today my new whisk came in the mail. I just ordered this from Amazon. So once again, here are the ingredients. Now let's get the mixing. Here in my sifter, I already added 3 cups of cake flour. Right here is 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I have 1/2 a teaspoon of baking soda, and I have 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to sift this and make sure it's all mixed thoroughly. Sometimes it might be a little crumbs at the bottom, so I just do it a little harder. But there it goes. And this is my dry mix. I'm going to use my brand new whisk and just mix it a little bit. And I'm going to set this dry mix to the side. So now I'm about to make my homemade buttermilk. I got my 1 cup measuring cup. I just added 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And I'm going to fill the rest up with whole milk, set it to the side, and get back to it when I need it. Okay, I added my paddle attachment to my stand mixer. I already put in my 2 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature. And now I'm getting ready to add my 2 cups of sugar in. And put my mixture down. And I'm going to start it off at a low, medium, and then I'm going to turn it up as high as it gets until this becomes incorporated. And always, don't forget to wipe down the sides of your mixing bowl. So now that I have a thorough mix, I'm going to turn this down on low, and I'm going to put my room temperature eggs in one at a time. And I'm just going to like mix it until it's mixed. I'm not going to over mix it. Here go egg number 2. Again, we're just mixing it until it's incorporated, and then we straight add another egg. Here go egg number 3. And egg number 4. Now after that is thoroughly mixed, I'm going to stop my mixer just for a second. And remember, always wipe your sides down so everything can be thoroughly mixed together. I'm going to turn this up on a medium. So the next thing I'm going to add in my buttermilk. Now as you can see, the buttermilk has got a little like lumpy. So I'm going to add this in. And this is 1 cup of buttermilk. Here is my 1/3 cup of cream cheese. And again, I'm going to put that down. So now I'm getting ready to add my flour, my cake flour mix in. We're going to be doing that 1 cup at a time. We're going to start it off on a low speed. And then we can turn it up a little bit to like a medium high. And I'm going to add some more cake flour in. And some more. And this is the rest. Let me clean this little mess up I made. So we just want to mix this until it becomes well incorporated. I done made a mess. So let's stop this now so we can wipe down the sides of our bowl. Make sure everything will get mixed. And I'm going to put that back down. So here's a look at my final mix. And this is my homemade from scratch butter pound cake mix. Now I'm getting ready to spray my bun pan. And like I said, you spray it generously because you don't want it to stick. And now I'm getting ready to put my mixture in my butt pan. And as always, try to put it in as evenly as possible and as neat as possible. Now use my spatula to make sure I get out all the cake mix. I can tell already this is going to be a very moist cake. I got a little bit more. Now we're going to take the end of our spatula and just smooth things out. We're going to give it a shake. Tap. Wipe my hands off. And now I'm getting ready to put it in my oven. I already preheated my oven to 325. I'm going to put it on the bottom rack. Now normally the cake takes like anywhere from an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, but I always like to set my timer at an hour and I'll check it, and if it needs more time, I'll leave it in it for 5-minute intervals. So here it goes. You got tradeMarc's homemade butter pound cake made from scratch. And I'm just going to let it cool off for a couple hours before I put my glaze on. Okay, now I'm about to make my homemade butter glaze. I have my saucepan. I put 1 stick of butter and I have it over a medium flame. I'm just going to agitate it a little bit, and I want to get this to a nice boil. Now it's at a boil. I'm going to add in my sugar. And this is something that you have to like constantly keep stirring because you don't want it to burn, and you also want it to be thoroughly mixed. Now I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going in with 1/4 of water. Again, this is something that you must continuously stir. You will know when it's done. You won't feel none of the sugar grinds in there, and you want it to be nice and smooth. So now that my glaze is done, I'm getting ready to take this fork and prick some holes on top of the cake. And I will also hit the sides of the cake. The reason why I'm pricking the holes in the cake, so when I put the butter glaze on, it can seep through the cake. Now I'm going to take my brush first, and I'm going to paint on some glaze. I'm going to start off at the top and make sure that I put a generous amount, because I want the cake to be like really buttery. I want to taste the glaze throughout the whole cake. Also, I'm going to hit my sides again with a generous amount. This cake smells so good. I cannot wait to cut it and get me a nice old piece. Again, right now I'm hitting the butter. I'm hitting my cake with some of this butter glaze. I'm going to throw some more on the top. And I'm getting ready now to just pour the rest of the glaze on the cake. And make sure that your cake is cool before you put your butter glaze on. Now, I forgot to flip the cake back over, but it's all good. So now, here's my tradeMarc's upside down homemade butter pound cake made by tradeMarc. As always, all food was cooked in a clean kitchen with clean hands, and all food was purchased with government food stamps. Remember, food always tastes its best, especially homemade cakes made by scratch. Tastes better with government food stamps. Until my next video, I'll holler at y'all later. Mwah.